Hiya crafty folks, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and today I have an interactive new baby card to share with you. So I'm going to use a couple of old stencils from A Colorful Life Designs. I have a really cute scrapbook.com stamp set that I'm going to use, but I'm going to make a baby card. We don't know the gender, it's for a shower coming up, so I'm going to make it in gender neutral colors. Here's a photo of the finished card. I was able to use some pre-batched items from my chocolate box here to get a background. I knew I had something in here. I actually ended up taking 2 panels, but I was flipping through, looking through, because I knew I had some sort of modeled kind of an ink smushed background or something with like oranges and greens, and that's what I was going for. I knew it was in here. So I was searching through, I did find it, and then I also found a really cool 3D embossed panel that I also thought would work. So I set those aside once I'm kind of done through flipping through my options. There it is. And I'm going to combine these as well as some other items to add to the card to make this custom card. Now I die cut that first panel down with that cool decorative edge die, and I was considering doing it with a white border, but I really liked this 3D embossed background, and I will link whatever products I can find in the video description box below, but I did do some sort of metallic ink blending over that embossed panel. So here is the Marvelous Masks onesie stencil set. This is from A Colorful Life Designs, and I do have a coupon AmyFan10. If you shop for anything at A Colorful Life Designs, be sure to use that at checkout and you'll save on your complete order. Now there's a whole line of these Marvelous Mask stencils, and they're so fun because as you can see, you get the inner and outer portion. Now I was just using the one outer portion and ink blending within, but I'm also using this layered bunny faces stencil set, also from A Colorful Life Designs, just to add that fun little element. Now in this first one, I'm just using residual ink on my blending brushes, and I did like how it turned out, but I realized quickly that the green was a little bit too muted for the background. So you'll see in a moment, I do end up doing the same exact thing again with different Distress Oxide colors because I want them to be a better match to the background panel on my card. So here I'm just working through, I actually have a little fine liner pen, and I'm just using that to kind of amp up the little details of the cute bunny face. But again, at this point I realized the colors weren't quite right. So what I did do is end up fussy cutting that other one out as well. And then I just put it in my critter book for a future card. So it'll work great for another card in the future, and I'll have that on hand. Now this green was Lucky Clover. It was very rich in color, and then I used this brushed corduroy, I think is what it's called, whatever the corduroy oxide color is. That's what I used for the little bunny head, and then I just went in straight with the fine liner pen for that second layer to draw in the details of the face. Now if you aren't familiar, Distress Oxides are actually a hybrid ink. They're a mix of pigment and dye, so you can really kind of layer them up on top of each other because they're not going to sink into the cardstock in the same way that a dye ink would. So I was able to layer up those colors. And I'm not worried about that smudge on the side of the onesie because I knew I was going to fussy cut it out. So here I'm just going to speed up so I don't take all day of your time, but I'm just cutting really close to the actual onesie because I don't really want a white border in this case. And then I'll show you in a moment what I do to kind of offset the little bit of white that's showing on the edge of the cardstock, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a finished look. So a trick with fussy cutting is to actually turn the paper, not your hand or the scissors. It'll give you a cleaner cut and it'll be less fatigue on your hands. So here I decided to grab an alcohol marker. You can use a Copic. I have my Ohuhu markers. I just grabbed one that was relatively close in color. I didn't even get too precious about it. I just grabbed one that looked similar on the cap, and it was a little bit darker, but I didn't mind. And I'm just carefully going along the edge just to color that white cardstock, just to give it a little bit more of a finished look, so it doesn't look just like white cord paper. And it kind of makes it look a little bit nicer in my opinion. But skip that step if it doesn't bother you, no worries there. And here I'm going to use actually a couple sentiments from this set. This is actually a scrapbook.com exclusive. If it's still available, I will link it with all the other products. If you expand and scroll down, you'll find those details. And if you use my links, that's a great way to support me and my channel at no additional cost to you. So I really appreciate that. Now here I'm free range stamping. I'm just using these scraps on my desk here. I did end up doing it a few times just to get the best impression, and then I will just take it to my paper trimmer and then just cut it down to a nice rectangle shape off screen. Now for this one, I decided to actually use my 𝗵𝗫𝗍 to stamp a sentiment on the inside just because I didn't want to risk it and mess up a card base. So I'm just going to condition it with my hand because I haven't used this stamp set before, and then I'm going to use that same 𝘄𝐵𝗔𝗄𝗆 ink, and I'm going to stamp this sentiment on the inside of the card. And it says something about showering you today, which I thought was cool because I usually don't have a sentiment that works specifically for a baby shower. Hopefully I can hold it up to the screen and read it to you in a moment, but it worked out really good for the inside of the card. And then I did end up deciding to continue the design onto the inside of the card by doing one of these little bunny heads. Now I just use residual ink from the blending brushes that I use for my oxides, which I do actually have a separate set for those because they tend to gunk up the brushes a little bit more than dye ink, so I like to have a separate set for my oxides. Here I'm going to use my custom stamp on the back of the card. That's from Jessica Lynn Originals. I'll try and remember to link that as well below. But here's where I'm bringing in the interactive feature. I'm going to use an action wobbler. It's going to make that cute little onesie jump around on the front of the card. The recipient can kind of, touch the edge of the onesie and then it'll just kind of bounce around. Now here I'm showing you, because that embossed panel kind of shrunk a little bit, I do need to trim just a tiny little bit off of that card base. Here I decided to use a white gel pen just to add some stitching around the edge of the onesie just to give it a little bit more detail. Obviously, again, this is an optional step, but it didn't take much time and I felt like it really did add something to the design. So skip that step if you want. Otherwise, be sure to have a white gel pen. I feel like they're pretty invaluable in the craft room. You can see I did kick that one panel off to an angle. I did use a 1mm foam tape just to give it a little bit of dimension. I'm also using 1mm foam tape on that sentiment strip, and then I use the action wobbler. You put one side down on your panel, one side down on your die cut item, and then it will give it that fun little bounce. Now I'm going to finish the card with some bling, also from Colorful Life Designs. I did end up going with Crystal Metallic Calypso. That was the color, and you can use my coupon in that as well, and that's going to finish the card. So if you enjoyed this, please do hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. It says, so happy to shower you and your baby on this day, or something like that. It went too fast, but hopefully you saw it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will catch you next time. Bye.